This is section 1.02 of Unit 1, Measures of Center. Today I am, as in you are the student, using tools to calculate measures of center so that I can calculate the mean, median, and mode of a data set. I will know I have it when I can calculate and interpret the mean, median, mode, and the mean of the frequency distribution of a data set. Specific TEKs that we're going through in today's lesson is 9b. Some vocabulary. Here we have a data set. There's a lot we can tell about this data set. This data set is just a group of numbers or things that we have to study. And some of the ways that we can study them is through mean, median, and mode. Mode is the number that appears the most often in the data set. There can be one of three. Either you have no mode, meaning there's no number that appears the most often. One mode, meaning there is one number at least that appears the most often. Or more than one mode, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4 different numbers or more, depending on your data set, that could have a number of numbers associated with it. Mean is the average of all the numbers. To take the average, you add all the data values and then divide by the number of data values that is in the set. Median. Median is the middle value when the data are arranged in order from smallest to largest. If there is an even number of data values, the median is the average of the two middle values. We're going to be going through examples of all these different things in a little bit, but this is the vocabulary of what we're fixing to go through. We'll start off with mode, the number that appears the most often in the data set. And again, there can be no mode, one mode, or more than one mode. In this example, we have the data set 2, 1, 1, 5, 6. It's easy to tell. Just look at the data set and determine which number appears the most. Sometimes if you order them from least to greatest, it's easier to tell. So that's what we did here in this bottom part. We order it with 1, 1, 2, 5, 6 instead of the previous order 2, 1, 1, 5, 6. And we can tell that the number 1 appears the most in this data set. So the mode is 1. Okay, so you try this out. I have a data set right here. You're going to identify the mode in this data set. First thing you're going to do is put them in order from least to greatest. If you're entering all these in ClassKick, make sure you separate each number with a comma. And then tell me what the mode is. You can move the box right here to check your answer, but only after you've tried, please. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try this out. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and go through this. Okay, so starting with putting them in order from least to greatest. I'm going to look through my numbers, and I see that the least is 11. So I'm going to start out with 11, 11. I got 3 of them here. And then after 11, I think I see 14. And then 16. See 2 18s. I see 2 33s. And then I see 45. Okay, now looking at all the numbers, I'm trying to see which one appears the most. I see 33 appears twice. I can see that 18 appears twice. And then I can also see that 11 appears 3 times. The mode is whichever one appears the most. And so my final answer for the mode is 11. And that's it for you try number 1. Okay, mean. The average of all the numbers. You add all the data values and then divide by the number of data values that is in the set. So in this example, to take the average, we don't have to worry about ordering them in any particular order. We just add up all the numbers and divide by the amount that we have. So we're going to take, there's a formula right here for you to understand. So X bar means average. X1, X2 just labels the different values that we have all the way up to the last number. And then N represents however many numbers we have. So for this example, the formula goes as follows. 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 5 plus 6. Okay? From first to last. Now we have a total of 5 blocks, so then we're going to divide all of that by 5. So if you add this all up using your calculator, I have it right there, but just to show you the calculator steps. 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 5 plus 6. Hit enter to equal it out, to total it out. And then divide it by the amount of numbers that we have, which is 5. So divide that by 5, and we have 3. So the average value that we get is 3. Okay, an average just basically tells you about the where these numbers kind of coalesce, where the center is, basically the average number that appears. It doesn't mean it actually appears. It just means what do they average out to be? Like, what do they center around? Okay, you try number 2. We're going to identify the mean of this data set. So again, we're not worried about whether they're in order or not. All you got to do is take these values, add them all up, and divide it by the amount that appear. The amount of numbers that are in this data set. Okay, so and you have some blanks right here. Add a total. You're going to put that at the top, divided by the total amount of numbers at the bottom, and then get your final answer. Move these boxes to see if you're doing these correctly, if you are on ClassKick. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on and show y'all how to do this. Okay, since we're not worried about at all whether these are in order or not, I'm just going to start from the first number and start adding them all together. So 18 plus 16 plus 11 plus 45 plus 33 plus 11 plus 33 again plus 14 plus 18 and plus 11. Now I'm going to get a total of 210. That's going to go to the numerator of this fraction. Okay, now the total amount of numbers that we have, I'm just going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10. Now I'm going to take that and divide them out. So 210 divided by 10 should give me 21. So the average number, the number that they kind of center around for this data set, is 21. And again, you can move these boxes to make sure you're doing everything correctly. The mean, the average, is 21. That's it for you. Try number 2. Okay, achieving a certain mean. So we're staying on the topic of average, of mean. So just recall to find the mean. We add all the data values and divide by the number of data values in that data set. Okay, so here's the formula to kind of remind you of that. Now, when you have to find the data value that achieves a certain mean, you will have to solve an equation. Okay, let's look at an example to help understand what this all means. So, achieving a certain mean. Jack works, let me circle and underline some key things here. So, Jack works 5 days a week. He earns 100 on the first day, 60 on the second day, 150 on the third day, 80 on the fourth day. If he wants to make an average of $96 this week, how much will he need to earn on the 5th day? So, average in this problem hints that we're going to be using that average process, that average formula to solve our problem. Okay, so we know that Jack worked 5 days. So we know the bottom part is going to be 5. The top part is made up by how much he's made for each particular day, for each of the 5 days. So on the first day, he made 100. On the second day, he made 60. On the third day, he made 150. And on the fourth day, he made 80. But we don't know how much he made on the 5th day. However, we do know that he averaged, of those 5 days, $96. Okay, so this whole process equals $96. Well, to figure out the 5th day, we're going to need to start simplifying, moving things around, and then targeting the X. We're going to isolate it and get our answer. So how do we do all of this? So first, it's setting it up, which is what we did right here, going through all of this information and then setting up the equation. And now we're going to simplify what we can. First, starting out with all of these addition values at the top. So we're going to add that all together. You can see the calculator steps right here, but just to show you them in motion, I'm going to add them up on my calculator. 100 plus 60 plus 150 plus 80, which will total out to be $390. Okay, now we need to get the X by itself. There's 2 things that are happening on this X. We have an addition thing going on, an addition operation of $390. And then we have the whole thing being divided by 5. Okay? So the first thing that's happening on the X is plus 150. Oh, I'm sorry. The first thing that's happening is being added 150. I did that again. 390. Sorry, guys. 390. And then the last thing that's happening on the X is divide by 5. Okay? So this is our undo chart. I'm just showing you all this visual, this organizational graphic or graphic organizer thing to kind of show y'all what the process is of undoing everything. So the first thing that's happening on the X is plus 390. The last thing that's happening on the X is divided by 5. So to solve for X, we're going to go backwards. Okay? So first thing we do is the opposite of division, which is multiply by 5. When you multiply both sides by 5, these opposites, well, they cancel. They cancel each other out. And so you get 96 times 5, which you can see right here on the calculator, but again, or on the picture of the calculator, but I'll show y'all the process. 96 times 5 gives me 480. So I have 390 plus X left equals 480. Last thing I have to do to get my answer is the opposite of plus 390, which is minus 390. And again, that cancels out the left, and then we just perform the operation on the right. So 480 minus 390 gives us a total of 90. Now, if you want to check your answer, let's average these out. So let's add these all up. 100 plus 60 plus 150 plus 80. And now we know what the fifth number is. It's 90. Or at least that's what we're checking to see if we did this correctly. We're going to put 90 for X to get our total. We're going to then divide it by 5. And if we get 96, we did this correctly. And we did. So 90 is our answer. You try number 3. You're going to read the problem, structured just very similarly to the example that we just did. You're going to try this problem starting with the first step, which is to set up the problem. Figure out what are the first 4 test scores and the total number of tests, and what the average is equal to. You're then going to combine like terms. You're going to cross multiply, in a sense, to get rid of certain things. Okay, you're going to, just like what we did over here, we basically cross multiply the 5 to the 96, multiply the 5 to both sides. You're going to cross multiply this bottom part to the other side, and then get the rest of your answer. Okay, notice how it's set up, the X on the right, so just make sure you put everything in the correct boxes. Step 4, the last step, is to subtract the test score from the sum to get the answer for the total on the left side of the equal sign. And then make sure to restate it in Word format to get your final answer. You can move this box to check your answer if you want. And yeah, so at this moment, go ahead and pause the video. Try this problem on your own. Otherwise, I'm going to go through and show y'all how to do this. Okay, Sam's scores on the first 4 tests were 87%, 92, 76, and 89%. What is the minimum score she needs to make on the 5th test so that her average is at least 80%? So average gives away that we're going to be adding, dividing, and so on using the formula to get an average, to make it equal to something. Excuse me. So the way we're going to set this up is we're going to add up the first 4 test scores, which are 87%, 92, 76, and 89. Plus the 5th test, which we don't know. So anything that we don't know when we're solving an equation is an X. That X represents the unknown 5th test. We have no clue what it is. But that's the whole point of us solving this problem, is to figure out what that 5th test percentage is. We know the total number of tests is 5 because the 5th test is what makes it 5. We know the average is at least 80%, so we're going to make it equal to 80% to figure out what's the lowest that X value can be to find that. Okay, so now combining like terms, all I'm going to do is take these 4 tests and combine them in my calculator. So 87 plus 92 plus 76 plus 89 gives me a total of 344. The total number of tests doesn't change. The average doesn't change, so I'm just going to bring those numbers over. I'm now going to cross multiply the 5 to the other side. 5 is going to go away right here. And so 80 times 5, believe that is 400. Yep. So left side of the equal sign turns into the average times the total number of tests, which is 400, which is equal to 344 plus X. Last thing we're going to do to get the X value is subtract 344 from 400. Now I believe that should be 56, but let's check. So 400 minus 344 should be 56. And so the worded answer, Sam has to score 56% on her 5th test to maintain an average of at least 80%. So even if she fails the test, if she still wants to make a B in the course, she just needs to make a 56 on that test. That's it for you try number 3. Median. Median is the middle value when the data are arranged in order from smallest to largest. If there's an even number of the data values, the median is the average of the two middle values. So here's an example. To find the median of this data set, we need to first order it from smallest to largest. So 21156 will become 11256. Now, if this is an odd numbered data set, which it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then when we do this next step, we will get our median. We're going to start from the left, cross out that number, go to the right, cross it out, left, right, and then once we get to our middle number, that's your median, the middle value of the data set. So in this example, the median is 2. All right. Now, in this next example, you're going to find a median that has 2 middle values. I've gone through the steps on what you need to do to find out what the median is. Okay? So you're going to identify the median in this data set first by putting them in order from least to greatest. Make sure if you're on ClassKick, when you're typing this up, to separate each number with a comma. Now, when you get to the middle, you're going to find out that there are 2 middle numbers. So if there are 2 middle numbers, you're then going to take the average to find the median. So you're going to add them up, divide by 2, and you'll get your final answer. Okay? So at this time, please pause the video and try number 4. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on and show you all how to do this. Okay, so ordering this data set from least to greatest, I'm going to have 11, 11, 11. And then it helps to cross these out as you use them so you don't accidentally repeat some of these numbers. Then I have 14, 16, 2 18s, 2 33s, and then 45. Okay, so now I'm going to go through my list, crossing them out one by one, starting with the left, then right, and then repeat. So left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And I need to get to one middle number. But if I cross out left and right, I don't have any more. I don't have any more numbers to cross out. There is no middle number. So I have to instead average these 2 out, 16 and 18. So what numbers are in the middle? The first one is, First one is 16, second one is 18. So to average them out, you're going to add them up and then divide by 2. So 16 plus 18, which gives me 34. I'm then going to divide that by 2, and it should give me 17. And so now we found the average, but this is still called the median here. So the middle number, the median, even though it's not shown in the list, is 17. So this is our median because of these 2 right here. That's it for you try number 4. Okay, next part of this, frequency distribution. So frequency distribution is a graph or a table that describes the number of times a value or an interval of values occurs in a data set. So, for example, 12 pages. Let's say this is a survey of people who have read a certain amount of pages. The frequency that people have read 12 pages is 5. So that means 5 people have read 12 pages. The frequency, the amount of people that have read 13 pages is 4. The amount of people that have read 14 is 3. 15, 3. 17 pages. The amount of people that have read 17 pages is 0. And so on and so forth. This is what a frequency distribution tells us in this table format. I think I have the same slide twice. Yeah, that's my mistake. So this is just another way of showing y'all an example to kind of correlate this to a data set. So basically 12 happens 5 times. So if we were to write this out in a data set, this would be 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. 13 happens 4 different times, so we're going to write 13 4 times. 13, 13, 13, 13. 14 happens 3 times, so 14, 14, 14, etc., etc. And just continue on in your data set until you get to the last one. Each possible response or data value is in its own row. The left column lists all the possible data values. The right column displays the frequency of each value. So, mean of a frequency distribution table. So, in that distribution table, frequency distribution table, we sometimes want to find out the average, okay? Now, the average for something like this, it's the exact same thing as what we've done before. But because there are so many numbers associated with mean frequency distribution tables, we're going to go through the process just a little bit different, but it's still essentially the same. Okay, so to find the average of a frequency distribution table, we're going to take the total of f times x, frequency times the value, the data value from that table. So we're going to multiply these two and then add them with the multiplication of 13 and 4. And then add them with the multiplication of 14 and 3, the product. Add them with the product of 15 and 3, and so on and so forth. Okay? And then we're going to divide it by the total amount of frequency numbers. So the total amount from the right side of the table. All right. So here is an example. Jack's team has scored the following number of goals in a recent game. What is the average number of scores his team has had? So here are the scores. 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. So you can go through this the exact way you've done mean. You can just add these all up and divide by a certain amount to get your average. But you're not always going to have the list at ready. Sometimes you're only going to be given the frequency distribution table. So for this example, we're just going to go through the process of creating the distribution table just so you understand like what's being done here. So using this data, we're going to fill out the X values, the F values, and then their products. So the amount, the X values, the amount of scores that they had is 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for our data values. So in the X column, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the amount of times the frequency each one happens depends on how many you have in your list. So 1 appears twice. 2 appears 5 times. 3 appears 4. 4 appears twice, and then 5 appears once. Okay, so that's step one, setting up the frequency distribution table. Step two is to multiply them across to get your F times X column, because we need that in our formula, the total of F times X. So multiplying 1 by 2, you get 2. 2 by 5 is 10. 3 by 4, 12. 4 by 2, 8. 5 by 1, 5. Okay. Now, step 3. We're going to add the F column and the F times X column. And notice how I have them color-coded. So adding up 2 plus 10 plus 12 plus 8 plus 5. So again, 2 plus 10 plus 12 plus 8 plus 5 will give me 37. And then 5 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, when you total that out together, will be 14. Now, the total of F times X, this red number, encircled by the red rectangle. It's not encircled. Enclosed by the red rectangle is 37. So 37 goes on top. You're going to divide that by 14, which is the number of F's, number of frequencies for this right here. Okay, so 37 divided by 14 is about 2.64. And let me show you all on the calculator. 37 divided by 14. We're going to round it to about 2 decimal places, is 2.64. So the average of this, the mean of this frequency distribution table is 2.64. Now, in the context of this word problem, this is saying that the average amount of goals being scored per game is about 2.64 goals. Now, in reality, you can't do 2.6 goals, so maybe you say about 3 goals per game, about 2 goals per game. Either way, 2.64 goals through the math is being made per game. Okay? And that's that for this example. Okay. So, you try number 5. Read the problem. Go through the steps. It's structured very similar to what you saw in the previous example. You have a table. You have a table of video games and their frequencies. You're going to make a table, a frequency distribution table, for step 1. Step 2, you're then going to multiply them across to get the F times X column. Step 3, you're going to add the FX column and then the F column right there, and divide them in step 4 to get your final answer. And then make sure you round your answer to 1 decimal place. So go ahead and pause the video. Try this problem on your own. Otherwise, I'm going to go through it and show you all how to do this. Okay, a survey asked a group of people how many video games they owned. The results are shown in the frequency distribution. What is the mean of the frequency distribution? What is the average of the frequency distribution? And we're going to round our answer to the nearest tenth. So let's look at our table. So this survey asks the amount of games, how many games they own. People that own 1 video game, well, there was only a frequency of 3. Only 3 people own 1 video game. 3 video games, 8 people own them. 8 people own only 3 video games, and so on and so forth. So we're going to take this video game column. This is our X column. So in these blanks should be 1, 3, 7, 10, and 15. The frequencies for each one of these. So the frequency for this one, for 1, is 3. For 3, it's 8. 7 is 5. 10 is 12. 15 is 4. Okay, this last column right here, step 2, we just got done with step 1. Step 2, we're going to multiply these two to get our fx column, f times x column. So 1 times 3 is 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 5 times 7 is 35. And you can type these in your calculator to check, but just going through it. 12 times 10 is 120. 15 times 14, I believe, should be 175. No. 150. Maybe 210. Let's check it out. So, 15 times... Oh, no. It's not 14. Not 14. So let me correct that. That should be 4. So, yeah. So that should be 60. $15 times 4, 60. Yeah. Okay, now, step 3, we're going to add these columns down together. So, for the green column, for the F column, 3 plus 8 plus 5 plus 12 plus 4 should be about 32. For the red column, 3 plus 24 plus 35 plus 120 plus 60 is 242. Okay, 242 divided by 32. Type that into our calculator. 242 divided by 32 gives me, rounded to one decimal place, 7.6. Since we're rounding to one decimal place, the number next to it is bigger than 5, which means we're going to round up. So we're going to round up to the next number, which is 0.6. So this is 7.6 as our final answer. In the context of this word problem, that means one student on average is expected to own, or not expected, the average amount of video games a person has is about 7.6 games based on our survey. Let's check our answer just to make sure, since we're dealing with a lot of numbers. Yeah, 7.6. 7.6. I have 5.6 right there, but it should be 7.6. All right. That's it for 1.02 notes. If you have any questions, you have my name or my phone number and email there. Just let me know if you need any help with the notes, any help with your quizzes, tests, whatever. And yeah, that's all I got. So I will see y'all in class. Take it easy, everybody.